again, thank you for joining us, and we'll keep this moving. Rochelle, up to you.
All right, thank you, Carol. Again, I echo Carol. It is wonderful to see everyone here. I am mostly gracious that we're not training on a new system, and we are just refreshing ourselves with the EZRA system. So again, welcome and thank you for your time. So I will honor your time as well, so we can run through this pretty quickly, hopefully. If you would put your questions, if you have any questions, if you would put those in the chat, we will pause throughout the presentation to answer those questions if you have any. And we have Carol Bruce and Julie Neely on the presentation who will be, who will be monitoring the chat box. So again, Carol, if you could mute everyone, that would be awesome. That way, if anyone is getting online, then we don't have the feedback during the presentation and it won't interrupt you hearing anything. So I'm sharing my screen. First, we'll talk about important dates. So each year, report days is within the first and second week of the beginning of the year. This year, it's either Tuesday, January 11th, or Wednesday, January 12th. Please, if you haven't received communication from your district administrators or auditors, please get in contact with them to check and see what report date is for your district. Usually by now, we would be getting ready, preparing for December 1st, where we can start entering in our data into EZRA. But unfortunately, because we were preparing for the Brick River system, we've had a delay in making the program accessible to the local churches. So we're working just as quickly as we possibly can to get that current and available to you guys. So we will have that available as of Monday, December 6th. You will be able to go into the system and start entering your data for the year of 2021. We'll talk about how to log into the EZRA program a little bit later, but just to let you know that there is a slight delay. Also, something new for this year is your 2021 contributions are due by January 12th. And your conference apportionments will be paid to the conference. In years past, we've had a cutoff date mid-December, and you would send those payments or your contributions to your respective district's office through report day. But through modern technology, we're able to receive those continuously at in the conference office. So keep in mind, your conference apportionments will come to the conference office, and your district apportionments will go to your district office. And all those contributions are due by January 12th. You can either mail them, send them through the U.S. Postal Service. Just please allow for time for those to be received by January 12th, or you can pay them online. And we have a link we'll have a link available on our website for churches to go online to submit those contributions, or our office will be happy to email that link directly to you, and the district auditors and administrators staff will be able to send that information to you as well. Today is November 30th. So we are closing out the month of November. Typically, we have the conference apportionments and district apportionments already loaded into the system. Once we close November, which we anticipate we will have that done by Thursday, December 2nd, we will send out your statements on Thursday, and then we'll get that information loaded into the EZRA program by Friday, December 3rd. Also, we sent out another statement for receipts received through December 22nd. You will see that we will send out another statement right before we close for the Christmas holidays on Thursday, December 23rd. That's just to show you where you are currently. So when you are in the EZRA program, you can compare the figures that are reflected in the system already. And then at the beginning of the year, once we close out the year 2021, you will receive a final statement from us. However you're receiving those. So those will go out by mail and also by email.
Rochelle, did you want to share your screen with us at this point?
Oh, is it not sharing? Thank you.
I know you have these wonderful graphics that would help. Thank you.
I appreciate you saying something. Let's see. I thought I was sharing. It says that it was disabled. So let me try it again. Okay, there we go. Are you guys seeing my screen now? Oh, here we go. Are you seeing my screen now?
We are. Thank you.
Okay, yeah. I am sorry. I'll go back through this real quickly again. I do apologize about that. So as I said, the report date is January 11th and or Wednesday, January 12th. Again, check with your district office. Just the system will be available. These are the things that I'm highlighting that are important dates. Monday, December 6th, where you'll be able to enter into the EZRA system. And then the contributions, which are due by January 12th, you can mail those. Again, just allow for ample amount of time, or you can do so online. And then just the statement dates. I do apologize. I feel like I've left out a whole piece of the presentation. And so we will be sending statements by this Friday, and those will be receipts received through November 30th. We'll send out another statement to the churches on Thursday, December 23rd. And again, that'll be for receipts received through December 22nd. And then you'll receive your final statement once we close out the year on Thursday, January 20th. So how do you log into EZRA? How do you gain access to that website? You have two options. You can directly go to the web address, or you can go through our website. Our website address is www.txcumc.org. And when the main screen comes up, you have right at the top a login on the home page, and then you can go to EZRA. We'll walk through that here momentarily, but those instructions will be received. You should receive those instructions through your district office, as well as we'll have that on the statements as well in the memo. And then again, if you want to go directly to the website, it is http://ezra.gcfa.org. Each church has a username, which is your GCNO number, which is the general church number. That number is located on your monthly statements. If you look at your monthly statements where it says area, that is your GCNO number. If you don't have access to a statement, you can contact our office or your district office, and they will be able to give that information to you. But each church has one logon using that number, the GCNO number, which on your statements is the area number. All passwords have been reset for the year, and that general password is TXCUMC and the number 1, all lowercase, TXCUMC and the number 1. Once you enter into that, into EZRA, you will be forced to change the password. So remember, since there's only one user, you're going to have to share that password with that person once you change it. We can always reset it. It can be reset through the conference office, and your district auditors or administrators can reset that for you. But just keep that in mind when you are creating that password. And again, for churches who do not have a computer or internet access, please be sure to contact your district office for assistance in your year-end reporting. So what we'll do now is we'll actually go to EZRA, and we'll go and log in at this point. And so when you come to the EZRA website, your login, this is where you will put that 6-digit number under the username, and then that generic password, TXC, UMC, and the number 1. Oh, I'll go back. You can reset your password from this page as well, so if you forget. But remember, you're sharing that, so remember to share it. Okay, so we enter into the database itself. Yours will look a little bit different than mine, but this is one of our local churches. Remember, you have 3 tables to enter. Table 1 is membership and participation. Table 2 are church assets and expenses. Table 3 is church income. The 3 different tables where you will report information. So if you look here on table 1, your church name, the GCNO number that you use to log in, your conference number, and then they listed GCNO number again, or general church number, because that's technically what it is. Right here, the employee identification number. If you have not entered that information before, please do so. This is very useful for when you need those group ruling letters. This goes directly to the general church. So if you ever need a group ruling letter, and you have to go to their website, once you enter your employer identification number, it populates your church information in and instantly sends it right to you. So there aren't any delays in you receiving that information.
Rochelle, if I
Yes.
interrupt for just one moment, we did have one request in the chat to slow down the presentation a little bit.
Okay.
We know that you've done this so well for so many years that it's second nature to you, but I think some of the participants would like a tiny slower pace. And then I wanted to remind everyone, we are recording this and we'll share it later, so you can go back and watch it again as you're getting in for the same time. Thanks for letting me interrupt, Rochelle.
Oh, no problem. Thank you. Okay. So we're still on table 1. And so on line 1, you will see in the first box, and it's a tan color, your total professing member number that you reported from the previous year. So 2 things that you can count on: the 2020 totals are always there, as well as the numbers that you will be entering for the 2021 year. Please note that if you input this number, you can type over this number. Oh, they fixed it. You cannot type over this number. You used to type over it, but then when you went to save it, it would correct it and change it back to what it originally was. So know that that number is fixed on line 1, and it cannot be edited. And as you go through and enter your information, where you see these tan lines, those lines are being calculated. So if you enter figures on any of those lines, as you tab through, as you can see, it is calculating the information that you are inputting. So the first 3 sections, you have your membership, the detail of your membership. Then you go through your ethnicity, your member ethnicity, and then you have your membership gender. And so these first 3 tan cells have to match. So item number 4, number 5, and number 6 should all be the same exact number once you've entered your numbers. If you get to number 6 and you've completed the rest of the report and you try to save it, it will not let you save. Those are hard validations and it won't let you proceed. So it will ask you, it will let you know, it will give you a notification on where you can find your error and where you can update that information. Carol, do we have any other questions? I see there's a couple of items that has popped up in the chat.
There are. So people have asked, what is an EIN? And that is your employer identification number. Ask the person who does payroll at your church or your financial secretary or your pastor to find that. We also had a question of just to repeat that generic ID. Yeah, the passcode. So that was done in the chat. Thank you for answering each other's questions. You guys are awesome. And then the generic password is TXCUMC1. So that's the way you get in the first time. And then Rachel Wiggs asked this question. The line 1 number for us is incorrect. Is there a way for that number to be adjusted on the back end?
There is. That's a great question. You have an addition correction and a subtraction correction. So 2D, if you see that the number was reported incorrectly, rather you need to add members or withdraw members, you'll find that on line 2D and 3C. So you'll see where it says removed by correction or added by correction.
2 additional comments here, Rochelle, while you're paused. Sheila Key says in the past she learned the hard way that she needed to tab to each line rather than move to each line via pointed via mouse.
Yes, that is, if you saw as I was entering, I was doing just that. I was tabbing through. But even if you click through, once you move to the next one, it should do the same thing as well.
And CUMC secretary asked, will we have access to the reports before January 6th? The secretary says has to get her numbers from other people.
Will they have access? Yes, the reports will be available as of Monday, December 6th. So yes, you will have it before January 6th. Also, we do have a blank report and I'll show how you can go and print that out. So if you want to start writing in figures on a form or printed out form, you can do so.
Another question, Rochelle, where do we find our conference number?
You can find it, well, the easiest way to find it is on the monthly statements that we send to you. You will find it on there. It's referenced under area. So when you look at that statement, you have the alternate ID number, which is the Texas Conference number for each church. And then you have the general church, the GCNO number listed as area. Okay. And so I'll go ahead and move on.
And Rochelle, one more recommendation from the chat is if there's any way to make your font size larger so the group can see more easily.
Well, I can zoom into my screen and make it bigger.
There you go. Thank you. You're doing a great job, Rochelle. Thank you.
All right. So so the next section that we'll look at is the worship attendance, worship services. So this is where you will report your average worship attendance. I don't know if you guys recall last year, because due to the pandemic, a lot of people went to online and conference call worship services. And so we put out a form called worship attendance online protocol. And so that form will still be available to you. I will show you how to get to that, but here is where you will report your average worship attendance in person for in-person worship on line 7, and then those the online worship on line 7A. And then just kind of scrolling through here, it's just different baptisms, UMW, United Methodist Men, Sunday School reporting, youth, Youth. So different other ministries that you will report information on. And so then you'll get to the end of the report and then you will save. And so, like I said, you do get an error warning to let you know, hey, something's wrong. The information you entered is not correct. And so it tells you to go in and make those changes and what's incorrect. And you'll see that it is red to let you know what's incorrect. So it's showing you that your line 4, 5, and 6 do not match. So that's what it's telling you to do. And so it gives you those warnings and you have the option to either go in and give an explanation and proceed on. So you have both sections. You have the error line to let you know exactly where your errors are. And then the warnings that's telling you, hey, something's wrong here. Could you please explain? And it's also just another note to have you go back and take a look at what you input into the system. All right, I will move on to table 2. And we're going to proceed on. In section, you have your section for assets and debts. That's your church information, the value of your church and your church assets. Then we have the upload of the apportionments. So this is what I was talking about, that we will be going ahead and inputting into the system on Friday to have it set and ready to go by Monday, December 6th. So as you can see, the 2020 apportionments amount, remember you have 2 columns, one for the previous year and one for the current year. And so if you guys didn't notice, back in September, our statement design changed. We separated our statements to reflect the general and jurisdiction apportionments versus the conference apportionments and fair share goals. So you have 3 sections, standard sections on your apportionment statements now. And then also if you have any non-apportionment benevolence that you've submitted payment to, like the Methodist home or Methodist retirement communities, those items will be on at the very bottom of the statement. And so this information will be uploaded in the system. So basically all you have to do here is verify that it is correct. Now, if you are submitting a payment or you've sent your payment by mail or sent in your contributions by mail and you want to go ahead and input the information so your grand total will be correct, you can do so. Just understand that, you know, when we do those periodic uploads, we're going to be, we will overwrite any of that information. So it's always good to check your statement and then verify it with what is inputted in the system. Anything else before I move on, Carol?
We do have a couple of questions you could speak to. One participant asked, is it possible not only to access but the information, but to enter numbers before January 6th?
I think they're hearing the date wrong. It's December 6th that you can start entering the information. So it's not January 6th. You can start entering your information on December 6th, and that's Monday. And then coming Monday.
Right, and then the actual reports are due either January 11th or 12th, and those dates are chosen by your district. So your district office will let you know which date or if both dates are available to you to turn in to complete the information. But that's great. Thanks, Rochelle. And Matt Vaughn is asking, are the lines recording assets still sensitive if not recorded correctly to raise apportionments? And Mac, I'm not quite sure that I'm answering your question correctly, but text me back if if I mess this up. But I think, Rochelle, what Mac is asking is that will things turn red if you're more than 10% different than you were last year?
They will. So like on the assets and debt section, it will turn red and let you know. So the warning, the validation warning is 10%. And so if there are any increases that are more than 10%, either increased or decreases, the warning will come up. And so you can enter an explanation at that time. So that's the general rule of thumb for us to kind of watch at that 10% threshold.
Right. If it's 10% more or less than you entered from last year, it'll automatically alert you. And that is the most common error people make that end up with an apportionment change. Often it's an error on this report. It does affect your apportionments come from are calculated from these reports. So it's wise to heed those warnings and double check your figures before moving forward. Two other things real quick. Rochelle, Stefan recommended that this is really helpful, guys. If you've never done this, just do a hard copy of your last year's report and put it beside you when you're entering. It's so helpful. It makes it easier to see that hard copy beside you and follow the lines. They have not changed since last year. Donna asked, every year there is a line item on apportionments that your apportionment statement that's incorrect. How do we get that corrected? Contact us, contact me or Rochelle. I'll put our email addresses in the chat and we'll be happy to help you offline. I think that's it, Rochelle.
All right, thank you, Carol. All right, and the next section is the district apportionments. This is another section that will be pre-populated in, so you don't have to worry about it. That's again, you would verify your district apportionments that you paid or with the statement that you received from your district. And I will stop right there and just state that a lot of people get confused with conference apportionments and district apportionments. They are separate. They are not one of the same. So your district sends you statements to reflect the assessment for the year, and so we send ours monthly. I don't think that the district send theirs, all districts send theirs that often, but they are two different assessments. And then section under the general advance, these are those special benevolence. So from line 30 all the way to 35, those are items that you sent in to the conference for special giving. And so we will have those figures already populated into the EZRA program. And so again, you're just verifying. Now starting at line 36, this is where you will start back entering, again, your information. So that's a big section that you're just basically verifying the information. But starting at 36 all the way down through the end of the report is where you'll start inputting your information according to your church. You'll see here where it says total amount given directly to a United Methodist cause. Say for instance, you sent some money directly to Encore. This is where you are reported. You didn't send it to the conference office, you sent it directly to Encore. If you sent it to the conference office, you would see it reflected on line 35. But if you sent it to that ministry directly, you will need to report it on lines 36 and of course on 37. 36 is United Methodist causes and 37 is all others. Any other questions before I move on?
Yes, Rochelle, I think Stephen Goldsmith has his hand up. Stephen, would you like to unmute?
Apologies, that was an accident. I didn't even realize I pressed that. Sorry, y'all.
Okay, good deal. That happens all the time. It was really cool though. You raised your hand. That was really awesome. You didn't realize it, but thank you. So I think that's it for now. Rochelle, keep rolling. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And then we'll get to the conference and clergy and staff information. So where you're inputting your clergy benefits, pension, salary, associate pastors, deacons, and other staff persons. And then you'll go down to the church expenditures where you see these bold lines. I'm sorry, I didn't identify that before, are headers. So that's when you're moving from section to through different sections. You have your church expenditures, so your program expenses, your operating expenses, your debt indebtedness, loan payments or mortgages, or capital campaigns, capital expenditures that you may have had for the year. I do want to highlight while we're here in this section that there are some line items that you have to have a figure in unless your church has closed. And that first one is line 47, your operating expenses. Each church should have some sort of operating expenses. So we do anticipate that you will have a figure there. I have not encountered that a church did not have operating expenses to report. So I'm always open to new things happening. And then here on line 48, where it says total amount paid for principal and interest on indebtedness, loans, or mortgage. Here, sometimes we do have churches that have a loan on their church, and they'll either put the initial loan amount or they'll put the outstanding balance. On line 48, you only want to report the principal and interest that you paid for that calendar year. So during the year of 2021. And then you have those last two lines for your capital expenditures. You have 49A and 49B. And so on line 49A, you want to make sure that you are reporting any money that you've taken from your operating account for those major repairs or major expenditures that you have on your building. Now, if you receive like a loan payment or one-time special gift, or you've been doing a capital campaign and you utilize those funds, you would want to report them on line 49. And so the reason behind us separating them is to see what did you actually take from your operating budget for the year versus those special gifts that you may not receive on an annual basis. So that is important. So when we see that your apportionments may have gone up pretty significantly, these are the main two lines that we go back to and reflect on to see if how those were reported from the previous year to the current year. So before we move on to table 3, Carol, are there any questions?
Yes, we have one question. We may have a second one, but we have one from Kenda. She said she is new this year, so she's never done this before. Is there a way for her to print the hard copy from last year that everyone keeps talking about?
Yes, we are going to get to those important documents here momentarily. That way you'll be able to see how to print out several different documents, the instructions on each line item, that worship attendance protocol. So we have a lot of forms that are available to you to utilize when you're during the reporting time.
A couple more while you're paused, Rochelle. Greg asked, how do we direct funds, for example, Hurricane Ida aid, to the conference where it will be reported here on this report?
So when you send those funds into the conference office, then those funds will go in that this general section here, those non-benevolence, the general advance, special Sunday, and other charitable benevolence. So all you would do was send those to the conference office. You can mail those to our lockbox, and I'll put that P.O. box mailing address up. in the presentation, or you can pay online. You do have the option to pay your main contributions online.
Michelle,
So,
Vicki Wood is also new, and she asked if you have a general fund and a building fund, we should report those separately.
if you have a general fund and a building fund, the report this is an expenditure report. So primarily, it is asking for items that you've paid out. It's not necessarily, table 3 asks some generic income questions, and there may be an area specific for that. You just would need to see what category your general fund would fall in. But our report is primarily an expenditure report, what you've paid, expenses that you have paid out.
Another question, Michelle, if a church makes a loan for church insurance and pays it off each year, for example, if the finance company pays it all and they pay them back monthly, would that be recorded in number 48?
Yes, I mean, any principal amounts that you've paid, you still would report those. Or any loan, if you paid off that loan within that calendar year, yes, you still would report those.
Albert Reed asked if restoration was done on the church and insurance paid the full cost, how is that entered?
That is entered on line 49. So that's one of those one-time special gifts or one-time one-time payments or contributions that you received as a church for a purpose, and it was designated.
Sandra Allison asked, how do we know if our church has to input information into EZRA?
Well, if you have an active church, you should be inputting information into EZRA. Now, only time that you don't is if there is a new church start, and then they actually have a roll-in period. But we notify the district offices and we let them know which churches and which year they should start entering that information. So your district is going to let you know. If you don't submit a report, they're going to contact you and say, hey, you need to submit your report.
Thank you.
All right, we'll move on to table 3. Okay, and so in table 3, that's that church income. And so that's where you would, I will come back to this top portion a little bit later, but this is where you would input just like some specific given lines. So amount received through pledges, amount received through non-pledged identified givers, stuff like that. Also capital campaigns, memorials, bequests, donations that were given. And we have the special information. Is your church currently incorporated? You will identify that by either entering 0 if it's not incorporated, or the number 1 if it is. The year that your church was chartered. I'm sorry, enter if the church charter number, and then the year that it was founded. And this is just housekeeping items that we collect from you just to make sure that our records are correct. I mean, there's always over time, as you know, at the local church, when staff persons change and stuff like that, and we're looking for just information. So that's just to make sure, again, that our information is adequate and it is correct. We have hurricane information related relief, if that applies to your church for the year. And then that is pretty much it for the income. I'll scroll back up to the top. So once it's all said and done and you've entered all your information to the best of your knowledge, you've adhered to all the warnings and error notifications, you've gone in, you've corrected all of those, then you have this nice little signature block right at the top of table 2. I'm sorry, table 3. We ask that the pastor of the church, the the appointed lead pastor of the church sign off on the report, and the financial secretary or representative from your church sign off on it. We understand that every church may not have a full-time financial representative, but whoever supplied the financial records to the clergy person or entered that information, we would like them to sign up on the report to say, hey, the information that you submitted is to the best of your knowledge. That's the end of the EZRA presentation. So I will go through those forms, but before we move to those forms, are there any other questions?
I think we're good, Rochelle. We're ready for you to move on. Thank you.
Thank you. So my report is going to be a little bit different. My screen's going to be a little bit different from yours. But when you come in, right at the bottom of your screen, you should see this Texas Conference Worksheets. And so these are helpful documents that are available to you to utilize as you're submitting your report information. You have the activity list. Let's let it pull that up. And this is the EZRA report, those line items on the EZRA report, and how they are associated with the actual fund activity on your monthly statement, apportionment statements. So line by line, you can see where those items that you've made contributions towards, where they're fallen on your year-end report. Sorry. Let me go back to here. I can't move this tab. There it goes. And then if you go back into EZRA, you have what we call a correction sheet. And this is where the districts really utilize this. I'm not sure, but it's available to you as well as a local church. Say for instance, you don't have a statement readily available, but you know those line items that you want to pay. You can take this blank form and complete it and submit that with your contributions. Rather you're submitting a check or if you're paying online. And you will notice this correction form has been updated according to the new statement outline here. Then you have your local church instructions. And this one is just a generic form on how to get in EZRA, how to utilize the modules, and different stuff like that. It's just a user guide for EZRA. You may not utilize that often, but it is available to you should you need it. And then you have those non-apportionment items. So say for instance, you want to make a contribution to the Human Relations Day or Course Sunday, which used to be 1 great hour of sharing. There's a form in there for you to pay out those additional contributions for non-benevolent items. And then this is that worship attendance protocol. And it gives very detailed information on how to account for online worship services. I could say for myself, my church just started back this past Sunday. So after a full year, we're just now getting back together. So that may be the case for several other churches as well. And one last thing, I'll go back to the report here itself. Bear with me, it's taking a little bit longer. If you have any questions about the report, if you see this question mark on the side, if you click on that question mark, if it has directions, you can actually hover over it, or you can click on it and it'll bring up the descriptions on each line item. So that's helpful as well. So you have two options. We have the description lines in that section of those documents where you can print them all, or you can hover over the question when you're at the specific question that you may be stumbled on. you can go to the question mark to the right-hand side of your screen, and you can just put your cursor over it, and you can see the description is right there, or you can click on it, and it'll pop up a little box. Now, I don't know that I can adjust that box size. So it is what it is, unfortunately, but you do have the paper copy as well.
Michelle, if this is a good time, we've got a couple of questions in the chat.
Okay.
John Reedy asked, if the church operates a preschool, should the income and expenses be reported in EZRA?
No, and that brings us to, that's going to be in our next slide, those common errors. So if you hold off for 1 second, we'll talk about that here momentarily.
Great. Lynn Settlemar asked, our PPP loan was forgiven. Which line do we record this on?
Now that's going to be in section 3. Let me go back. There were 2 line items that were specific to the PPP loan. Trying to see if I could see them right off. Here it is, line 54C. That's where I think it's 2 lines. So John, please put your information in the chat and let me make sure that there's not, I think there's 2 line items here, but I know 54C most definitely, and I think there was another line item that you had to report some information regarding PPP loans. So
Lynn Settlemar, who was asking that question.
okay, please put your information in the chat and I will make sure that I get back with you.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions before we move on?
If you could just review one more time, Rochelle, all those helpful forms that you were showing us, that one screen, how, if one participant asked, how do I get to that screen?
So when you go into EZRA, you can, when you go into EZRA on your home screen, these forms will be down at the bottom of the screen. So you can access them. So they're right there available to you. And then I see that I didn't upload the blank report on here, so I'll bring that up. But that blank report will be in those worksheets, but you can also, you should be able to put, excuse me, you will be able to print a report yourself. So you can go in and tell it to print your report. It's loading slowly.
Rochelle, while it's loading, Develos asked a good question. Will the form autofill the apportionment fields if all apportionments are paid by a certain date or deadline?
Yes, so those are those important dates. So where we have to, unfortunately, it's not auto, we have to upload that information, but that information will be available, will get loaded twice before the ending of report day. That's that December 3rd that we're going to do on Friday. And then again, December 23rd, right before we close, I'm sorry, December 22nd, right before we close for the holidays. And then we'll continue uploading that information all the way through report day on a daily basis. And we typically only send that information to the district and the district auditors so they can know where you stand. Okay, it's still loading, but know that the blank report is there. I'm sorry.
Rochelle, it was John Settlemar asking the question, and he said they received the cash last year and the loan was forgiven this year. Do you know how the PPP funds should be indicated on this form?
John, I'm still gonna offline contact you because I want to make sure that I give you the correct information.
Good deal. Thank you. Thank you, Rochelle.
So we'll go back to the PowerPoint presentation and we have the do's and the don'ts in reporting. So I'll just restate this again. Please enter the church's IRS employer identification number, that EIN number, if you have one. So if you have that available, please enter that information. We've always asked for it, and it should populate over into the Brick River system. However, if it don't, you may have to enter it this year in EZRA and then again next year in Brick River. However, you only have to enter that information one time. Keep in mind that when you're entering dollar amounts, you want to enter whole dollars, no cents. So you would need to round up or round down accordingly. So if you are reporting a number for $100.06 and you type in 10006, that's going to be 10,006 and not $100.06. So please keep that in mind. Also, use your conference apportionment statements. Remember to verify those sections. I've identified those, section 28, and then also lines 30 through 35. Also use your district apportionment statements to verify your district apportionments that you've paid, and that's in section 29. And then we have the auto summation lines throughout the report. I've identified them here, where it will automatically calculate for you. And I will make this, this presentation also available within those documents as well. So that'll be out there as well for you to refer back to. And then like Carol said, we are recording this, so this will be posted to our website, so you can always reference back to the video. Be observant of your validation warnings. So remember those warning blocks that come up. You have your line, you have two types. You have your line errors, that's going to be the reddish orange color. And then you have your validation warnings, that's that 10% warning increases or decreases that will be kind of that tannish color. And then again, please have adequate representation signed off on table 3. Once you complete the report and you sign off on table 3, you will submit that to your district. You do not have to submit the entire report. You only need to submit the signature page. The great thing about Brick River, I was excited about, I could have created a signature block on a separate table where you didn't have to print out that last table 3, but we're looking forward to that for next year. Common errors, entering the data on the wrong line and adding an extra digit. This is where that 10% warning really comes in hand. So if you, because it's comparing the previous year and the current year, this is where you can really identify if you have made any mistakes. So please don't ignore those warnings. And then we talked about reporting a total loan amount on line 48. You just want to make sure that you are reporting what those principal payments were during the calendar year for 2021. And then again, where I had stated about the capital expenditures, the specific line items, line 49A and 49B, how to adequately, correctly report those. And then finally, including the church expenditures from other ministries on ongoing programs, not including those expenditures, excuse me, meaning like day school, or if you have a special ministry like the food bank, you don't want to include those in your operating expenses or program expenses, because it makes it seem like you may be collecting daycare fees, weekly fees or monthly fees for those expenses, to offset those expenses. So you want to make sure that you are not including those in your operation, or even if you have like a capital expenditure for building out a new day school, you don't want to include that on line 49A or 49B. So you just want to make sure that what you're reporting is what your worship, the operation of your worship service. what makes your worship service work. And that's all I have. I have this page called When in Doubt, Who to Contact. And I have here a list of all the districts, their phone numbers, the district auditors and admins. And so you can contact anyone in your respective district who is listed here. And then if you have any, we're always here to answer any questions here at the conference office. So you can contact us as well. Are there any other questions, Carol?
Just a couple of more questions. First of all, friends, we saw lots of you are interested in Rochelle's wonderful PPP answer. Where to put that on the form? We'll find that out and email back to everyone. Also, we'll give you the addresses to the lockbox and a way to pay online for those of you that want to pay missions funds to the conference or apportionments. And who to send those to the attention to. Although there are only 20 of us here, we'll figure it out. If you send money, we'll figure it out. We'll also send the link for that online worship calculations page, which is also outside of EZRA on our website. But someone named Office asked this question, Rochelle. If we took a distribution from interest income to pay for capital improvements, is that line 49A, 49B, or would
it would be 49B. So the way you want to consider it is 49A is from your operations. 49B is something that you may not receive from year to year. So if you're getting that interest, if you're taking that interest that you collected every year, well, in that case, then yeah, it is 49A. But what I'm hearing you say is it may be just a one-time thing that you're doing or receiving or withdrawing from, and that's line 49B. So I hope that answered your question.
One-time distribution, yes, they said it did answer the question. Thanks so much. Rochelle, you did a great job presenting. I think we should all give you like sign language applause. And
Thank you. We appreciate all of you. And you don't know how grateful we are that we're sticking with EZRA this year. I think that the Brick River program is going to be a very user-friendly program. It's very easy to utilize. However, it just had several bugs that it still needed to work out. They still needed to work out before we rolled it out. So I think that look forward to receiving that information for next year. But happy EZRA reporting.
And happy Advent, everyone. We hope you have a wonderful holiday season. Don't hesitate to email us or contact us. Our direct phone lines are on the website under the staff page. Contact us anytime. We're here to help. We're grateful for you. And we hope you have a wonderful holiday season. Take care, everybody. Thanks for joining us.